The New York Times once called Peter Sellers Britain's Prime Minister of Mirth. Spike Milligan said he'd be Britain's greatest actor if someone would only let him act. An unusually gifted comic and impressionist, Sellers' extraordinary talents saw him move from radio star of the 1950s to international film star of the 60s. From the Goon Show's Blue Bottle to Hollywood's Pink Panther, at every stage of his career, he excelled in funny voices and flights of fancy, and as he demonstrates here, he never got tired of fooling around.
Kindly observe, ladies and gentlemen, that the handkerchief, there is nothing in it, yeah? Now look. My head is in the handkerchief. My head has gone!
After that little trick came an anecdote stemming from Sellers' experiences working as a drummer.
It's a very dreary business being a drummer or any musician doing gigs, really, around the country.
Right.
Or in one set place. Because you get a lot of hooray harrys who come up to you and ask you for songs, to play songs for them. I mean, a typical musician's story, and this is probably true, it's probably based on fact, is about a fellow who came up to a very well-known friend of ours, Alan Clare, pianist.
Marvelous pianist, yeah.
And said, I say, would you play That's What You Are? So Alan said, I'm sorry, I don't know what That's What You Are. I'll have a look through the book. So he had a look through the book very quickly. And this chap was sort of dancing around with a very tall girl, you know, down like that. And he came back and he said, I say, there's a drinky poo in it for you, you know? and he came back and he said, piano player, and kettle drummer. I was known as a kettle drummer. I don't know why. You never used to play a kettle, but it comes from timpani, you see. He said, aren't you going to play That's What You Are? So Alan said, I'd love to play That's What You Are, but I don't know how it goes. He said, good God. He said, what is the country coming to? He said, I never thought I'd reach the day when somebody didn't know That's What You Are. He said, well, if you sing it, I'll try. He said, it goes like this. Unforgettable. Yes. You are.
And then Sellers told of how he began his career by tricking his way into the BBC.
I was getting nowhere fast, you know, and I noticed that Roy Spear was doing a show at the time called Showtime, yes. And the compere was Dick Bentley, and there were lots of new acts, you see. And I'd written in, I don't know how many times, to try and get on the show, no reply. The secretary said, Mr. Spear, blah, blah, blah. I got nothing to lose. I thought, well, I'll phone up. Because I were doing these impersonations, and one of the big shows on the air was Much Binding in the Marsh, with Kenneth Horne and Dickie Murdoch.
Right.
And I just thought I'd do it. You know, you do things at certain times in your life. You've got to get ahead, you know. You've got to run. So I thought, if I stay here, I'm dead, you know. Even if he kicks my ass out of there, it doesn't matter, as long as I make some impression.
Right.
So I phoned up, and I thought, being a senior producer, Spear would probably know Horne and Murdoch, you see, who were very big then. And I thought, if I click with the secretary, I'll get through, right? So I said, hello, this is Ken Horne. Is Roy there? Now, once she said, oh, yes, she is Kenneth, I knew I was right. So, got on there, and Roy said, hello, Ken, how are you? I said, listen, Roy, I'm phoning up because I know that new show you've got on, Showtime or something. Dickie and I were at a cabaret the other night, saw an amazing young fellow called Peter, what was his name? He said Peter Sellers. I said, Peter Sellers. Anyway, I think it'd be very good if you probably had him in the show, you know. Or something like that. Just a little tip. We just go around looking, you know. He said, well, that's very nice of you, you know. And then it came to the crunch, and I said, it's me. He said, what? I said, it's me, Peter Sellers talking, and it's the only way I could get to you. And would you give me a date on your show? And he said, you cheeky young sod, he said. He said, what do you do? I said, well, obviously do impersonations. I was 22 at the time.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
And anyway, I went up there and I got a date on the spot, and I got a good write-up, first write I've ever had in my life, you know. It's really nice.
In the 1960s, swinging London was the most fashionable place on the planet, and Peter Sellers was one of the many big names in show business making the most of the fact. For those golden years, Sellers was to comedy what James Bond was to cinema, and the Beatles were to music. And speaking of the Fab Four, here's Sellers' unique take on them with a nod to Laurence Olivier's interpretation of Richard III.
It has been a hard day's night. And I have been working like a dog. It's been a hard day's night. I should be sleeping like a log. But when I get home to you, I find the things that you do will make me feel all right. You know I work all day to get you money, to buy you things. And it's worth it just to hear you say, you'll give me everything. That's why I love to come home, 'cause when I get you alone, you know I feel okay.
A recording of that performance made the top 20 in the UK charts, a testament to Sellers' wide appeal. People love seeing him immerse himself in characters like I'm All Right Jack's Fred Kite and Dr. Strangelove. Famously, Sellers would say that he wouldn't know what to do if asked to play himself. There is no me, he said. I do not exist. There used to be a me, but I had it surgically removed.
And I'm not the real Peter Sellers. I am, in fact, a mock-up, a plastic mock-up. I'm beginning to think that increasingly every day as I look at myself in what I laughingly call the mirror. It is another copy of myself who I leave at home to do the housework because I can't get any servants.
Coronation Street, is it Coronation Street?
No, this is called The Life of and Times of Peter Sellers or something like that.
Oh, him.
Yes. The great problem is that we can't find him. I've been looking around all over the place.
That microphone moved then. That wouldn't be him, would it, down there? That big one down there.
Just a moment, I'm not sure. Come on out of there. We know you're in there. No, he's not in there, no. No, that's stretching it a bit far for him.
You think so?
I mean, in the nicest possible way.
Oh, shit.
Hiding away was the last thing Peter was doing in the mid-60s. Marrying Swedish actress Britt Ekland 10 days after meeting her had him plastered over the front pages of the newspapers. He also found the character that would become his most celebrated, Inspector Clouseau. Clouseau was a character who famously got everything wrong, but when making the Pink Panther films directed by Blake Edwards, it was Sellers and the cast who struggled to get things right, as some clips shown by Michael Parkinson clearly demonstrated.
I put it to you directly, Monsieur Ballon, that it was you who murdered Miguel Ostos.
Don't be ridiculous.
Oh. It's brought up here again, I'm sorry.
Look, I just like... Got it.
Then I submit, Monsieur Ballon, that you arrived home, found Maria Gambrelli with Miguel Ostos, and filled him in a writ of fellas jade.
Inspector. Inspector?
Very interesting museum you have here.
Inspector!
Yes.
Would you think it naughty of me if I were to buy you a drink?
You already have.
Yes. Well, how about that by myself, well, and we share it together, huh?
All right.
Waiter, another Waiter.
I have fixed your doorbell from the ring.
Because I am an expert and troubleshooter, it is my business.
If you require anything...
Monsieur, all I require is a little privacy in which to work, my bag of tools, and... It is my business to know. He is Sir Charles Phantom, the notorious... No.
They are funny, aren't they? It's amazing, actually, when you watch them. I mean, Blake Edwards has got about 200,000 feet of you doing that. I mean, it's amazing you ever finish a film with him.
We always have 2 weeks extra for laughs, you know.
For giggling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great working with Blake. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
The Inspector Clouseau character comes up again in this appearance on the live discussion programme Film Night, which begins with some trademark fooling about.
Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Sellers.
Hello, hello. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all right. Yeah, that's all right. Hello. That's all right. Yeah.
Is it working all right?
Yes, it's working now. Yes. Hello, hello. Yes.
Well, I must say that I liked it. I found its comedy intrinsically funny. The cutting, I think, from the grandfather's rather prominent member to the brush on the wall was quite exquisitely... Did you really think that? Yes, I did. Well, then we seem to be divided only on minor points. And let's press on to the book we have all been reading.
And I thought, by separating them at the beginning, this was the sort of thing I'd prevent. Now, I'd like to ask Peter Sellers first if he remembers an occasion, and he really doesn't know about this, in 1951, because I found a report in the Times of 1951, I swear this is true, about a new variety bill at the Prince of Wales. And Mr. Peter Sellers, as they say, was in company with Nino, the little dog who trots about the stage on enormous inflated rubber balls. Now, the question I want to ask Mr. Sellers is, does he remember anything about that fantastic dog?
Yes, somebody pricked one of the balls, I remember, and the dog went... I used to do impersonations in those days, or impressions, yes. Tommy Handley, lots of people, you know, various ones. I didn't used to do Alec Guinness in the... I beg your pardon. These days, you know, at party things, I trot a few out of various well-known stars of stage, screen, and Labour Exchange. And one of my ones is of Alec Guinness. I do that one quite often.
Especially one speech from Kind Hearts and Coronets when he was showing Dennis Price around the old church. He said, "My west window has all the elegance of Chaucer, with none of the concomitant crudities of the period." Thank you.
Which film did you most enjoy doing, Peter Sellers? And is it now, looking back, the same film?
Well, I enjoyed playing very much. I enjoyed very much playing Claire Quilty in Lolita. A long way back now. Just the first 5 minutes of that film I enjoyed very much. I like to do... I like that, and I think it looks good when you watch it on the screen. Dr. Strangelove was a fascinating experience, again with Stanley Kubrick, trying to find out what made Dr. Strangelove tick over and why he wore a black glove and why one hand was a Nazi and the other hand wasn't. And the way we got to that is a whole interesting story. Those were the days. They don't write hands like that anymore. And I think I always will like, the memory of playing Inspector Clouseau. Clouseau is a special sort of character, There are people like Clouseau around all over the world. He's a sort of man with great inbuilt dignity, you see, great dignity. He's an idiot, but he knows that, but he wouldn't let anyone else know that, you see. He's very, very keen, so that if something goes wrong, you see, if he falls over or something, something awful happens, he immediately suspects that someone said, "Yeah, bleeding idiot," But you see, he wouldn't let that disturb me. He would say, "What was that? What is that you said? What, I heard that. What was that?" And someone, some schlapper would say, "Nothing, sir." He said, "Yes, of course, nothing. Yes." Like if there's a phone call and this is a phone call for you, Inspector. He said, "That will be for me." Because, because he wants to be one up all the time, you see. An awful lot of people like that about, you see.
Clouseau took Sellers to a whole new level of fame and earned him a Golden Globe nomination in America. But international stardom didn't mean leaving old colleagues behind. Here he is, joining his fellow goon, Harry Seacombe, for a 1972 appearance on Parkinson, and showing again that he knew how to make a big entrance.
Machines.
It is Peter Sellers, isn't it? Yes. Mm. Do you,
I only dress up like this during the mating pogrom. Deutschland, I'm a Yankee Doodle Dust.
Where do you get that from, Peter?
This is a real German help. What is all that lot down there?
Oh, it's just some little extras we have down there.
Hello. I just saw it. I've seen it. I did a film in Guernsey, and we were working underground in an actual German hospital. Factory. And I found this. It was all rusting away in the corner, so I got some people. But you know what? Really, the truth about this whole thing, I am sick of this business about Churchill. The young Churchill, the old Churchill, the weak Churchill, the thin Churchill, the fat Churchill. Why doesn't someone say the truth about Churchill? Not many people know. Listen. A painter his rotten paintings, rotten. Hitler, there was a painter for you. Could paint an entire apartment, 2 coats, one afternoon. You are listening to this from the horse now. You are getting... Hitler had more hair than Churchill. He told funnier jokes. And he could dance the pants off of Churchill. Churchill couldn't even say natter. Like, nah. That is my favourite bit of dialogue from, and a plug for good old Mel Brooks and the producers. Springtime for Hitler and Germany.
Can I
take this off?
Yeah, please do, Peter.
Take my head with it. Yes. Now you see. Let's have a look at this for a moment. Yeah. Now, thinly disguised as... Oh, God. No, it's better without.
I shared your admiration, actually, for that film.
They're a great film. Very underrated. I don't know why they didn't push that.
Yeah. Well, you know, why they didn't push it is what's wrong with the movie industry, basically, isn't it?
Absolutely right.
We might talk about that later.
Yeah.
It occurs to me that the art of impersonation like that is sort of... is carrying it through, isn't it? You know, it's going out there and carrying through with it no matter what. Have you ever chickened out of one, Peter, at any time? Have you ever sort of gone halfway through with one and then...
On what?
On an impersonation, you know, you sort of gone down the street disguised or something and then sort of thought, well...
Well, I went out with Milligan the other night. Milligan gets down a bit, you know, as you well know. There's a friend here. He has Barneys with certain corporations, whether it be this one or ATV, ITV, and phones up in the middle of the night usually, or at about 8, and says, let's go and get drunk because I feel a bit down. So we went out, this is about 5 weeks ago, and we had some wine at a place we always go to, and I was telling Spike about finding this hat in this German hospital, and he was very taken with it, you see, and the whole Hitler thing, and his book, you know, about Hitler, which they're now filming, incidentally. And I ended up driving this Mercedes I've got in the front, with Milligan shrieking in the back. It's about 3 in the morning, orders in fake German, and this hunchback figure with a helmet on, saying, links, and putting the right indicator out when you're going left. And people would drive up and suddenly the lights, you know, and suddenly think, God, what's that? You know, was it going on? And we ended up in some Greek restaurant about 3 in the morning there that Milligan knew around in the back of Bayswater. And it was all rather like something out of the French Connection. I don't know what happened because I don't even remember getting home. I thought to myself, my God, if anyone stops me like this, what am I going to say? You know, if the old fuzz come up.
That's right.
What are you going to say about it, really? You know, because I was, as high as a kite. I wasn't really fuzz. I was just as low as a kite.
What about this gift, though, Peter, of picking up a person's voice, imitating it? Do you have to listen to it for a long time, or is it like some instant feedback with you? That somebody says something to you and you pick it up immediately?
Do you know about that? Oh, there's not many people know that. Do you know?
What's that?
This is my Michael Caine impression. Do you know that it takes a man to fall from the top of Big Ben? See, Mike's always quoting from the Guinness Book of Records. Doesn't matter, at the drop of a hat, he'll trot one out, you see. It takes a man in a tweed suit 5.5 seconds to fall from the top of Big Ben to the ground. Now, there's not many people know that.
The Celebrity Friends didn't end with Michael Caine. Here is Sellers messing about with Ringo Starr in between takes on their 1969 film, The Magic Christian.
Good afternoon and welcome to my shoot. Cockroaches are pretty good right now. It's a very good season for them. And we have a cockroach party out there right now. The Duke of Norfolk and 1 or 2 other people who are hot after the cockroaches, where they burn them up, actually. That's the idea. But, it's all right. No, it's okay. I thought it was one of those IT jobs with hair under the wings. As you can see, this end is made of wood and this end is made of metal. Mainly because if you find out at that end, it would splinter. And this end, you see, if you used it like this, it would go straight into your arm and cripple you for, well, probably the rest of your life. So that's why most people shoot this way around, you see. And when the bird goes out this way, therefore the bird gets the full benefit of the blast and not your elbow, shoulder thing. That's why the man from Laramie had an elbow on his arm and one upon his shoulder. Brook Bonds was that man's specialty.
Our final clip is a musical number Here's Sellers performing the old crowd pleaser When I'm Cleaning Windows in the style of one of his own comic heroes, George Formby.
Turned out nice again, didn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I go cleaning windows to earn an honest bob. For a nosy Parker, it's an interesting job. Now it's a job that just suits me. A window cleaner you would be if you could see what I can see when I'm cleaning windows. Honeymooning couples too, you should see them bill and coo. You'd be surprised the things they do when I'm cleaning windows. In my profession I work hard, but I'll never stop. Climb this blinking ladder till I get right to the top. Now the blushing bride, she looks divine. The bridegroom, he is doing fine. I'd rather have his job than mine when I'm cleaning windows. Chambermaid, sweet names I call. It's a wonder I don't fall. My mind's not on me work at all when I'm cleaning windows. I know a fella such a swell, he has a thirst that's plain to tell. I've seen him drink his bath as well when I'm cleaning windows. In my profession I work hard, but I'll never stop. I'll climb this blinking ladder till I get right to the top. Pyjamas laying side by side, ladies' nighties I have spied. I've often seen what goes inside when I'm cleaning windows.
Peter Sellers saved his last ever joke for after his death, which came in 1980 after a heart attack. He was 54. The eulogies described him as the greatest comic talent of his generation and a genius on a level with Charlie Chaplin. For his funeral, he had insisted that Glenn Miller's In the Mood played as his coffin was cremated. Why? Because he absolutely hated the song and knew it would give all his friends one very last laugh.